Right, welcome to the post PUPL draft kind of power rankings call. This is a day after the draft has happened, so we've kind of had time to get our thoughts together, think about what we're doing, see what lineups are looking like, kind of talk in our teams. And so now we're trying to do a power ranking, loose power rankings, just to kind of talk about the draft to see where we're at. So on the call, I've got a kind of mix of managers here. We don't have every team represented, but we've got enough to kind of do a call. So if you'd like to introduce yourselves one by one, talk about what team you're associated with, and anything else you have to say, go for it.
Hello, I am Vulpix, and I am managing the Twinkatuffs with Gum.
Hi, I'm Khan. I'm managing with Pix.
Hi, I'm Ishtar, and I'm managing this legume piece with All Star Apology.
And I'm Zias, and I'm managing the Jobidus with Arcobaleno.
And just because I forgot to say, I'm Shaneghoul, and I'm managing the Destructive Dedenis with Hawkins. So the plan we have for this is just with the managers we have in the call, we're going to talk about our own individual drafts and kind of how it went for us, how our teams are looking, how we feel about that, and then we'll talk about the teams who don't have a manager represented, and then we can kind of talk about power rankings and power levels a little bit after that. So Pix and Gum have offered to start it off with their team, the Twinkatuffs. So Pix and Gum, the floor is all yours.
Um, yeah, we just retained Haysop. I think we're pretty happy with our draft. It went like as planned, pretty much. We knew we wanted Bunny. Like we saved a lot of money for him. We got him for cheaper. We got like most of the people we really wanted. So Bunny, Avery's, Beraldo, and Booth. So yeah, I don't know if we've.
Yeah, I'm
I don't know what else.
I'm fairly happy with it. I think like pretty much every slot went to plan. Um, and we got some friends who we really wanted, and then some new people who we haven't teamed with before, who I think are all pretty good. Um, like you said, we retained Taysup, who had the best DPP record last year. Um, and then Avery's great in PU. Punny is probably the best overall player in the tour, and we got him for 19K. Then we have some newer people like Denox and Zui who haven't played much in tours, but have both shown potential.
I think for your draft, the thing that really stands out to me is the fact that you were able to get the two of you for 10k each on the retain.
Hmm.
Just having that as a starting point puts you in such a good position because those are two of the best starters in the tournament, and you're getting them at 10k value.
Yeah, and it's actually crazy, um, because we could have retained Crying for 10K. We could have retained Stresh or Zab GB for I think 22K.
Hmm.
So we had so many other retains potentially that unfortunately weren't playing this year. Um, but I'm still happy with the self buys and the haste up retain.
Are there any of your slots that didn't go to plan?
I think black and white. Well, first of all, I didn't even see that Phoenix signed up. We could have retained him for 10. But our initial plan was Tack, just because I get her. I think I've gotten her 4 PU tournaments in a row for black and white. She's like my staple, but this year she went for a lot. So we went with Denox. But I'm really happy with getting him. He's been active. He's seems like a cool guy, and he's done well in black and white in the past. I think every other slot is pretty much exactly as we planned. Maybe we weren't necessarily planning on Gondra, but Gondra's solid too, so happy with him.
Um, yeah, on your black white point, that was one of our biggest issues as well. It kind of felt like the black white pool this year there weren't a lot of options there, and
Hmm.
the good black white players were got at a premium.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah, the black and white prices were a bit inflated, I felt like in years past, TAC was always 3K
hmm
just because you had more options to choose from. You had like, I think his name was Sid the Shuckle and just some other older players that didn't return this year. So it made it that was the most awkward tier for us to draft, I think.
yeah, that was kind of the same for us. Like just looking at last year's black white, um, I think Gray did well in it last year. Shuckle King played 7 games last year. Neither of them were signing up. Bag of Tricks was
Hmm.
around. Obviously, TJ is someone who normally black whites who's no longer around.
Yep.
So it's just very different this year with the players that were available. Um, and we kind of got caught on that in our draft. Well, I'll save that for later.
Well, honestly, we could probably go right into your draft since we're playing you week one. I feel
Yeah.
like we've spoken about ours already.
So on that point, actually, I didn't realize how strong your lineup was until I saw we were playing you week one, and I saw the matchups.
Hmm.
This got me really worried. I think of all the teams in the tournament, yours is the one of the ones we're most worried to play. It's just through every position. I think aside from maybe SM and black white, where SM black white and your third SV slot, I don't think you were strong in. But then you've got like superstar players in every other slot.
Yeah, but it's funny because it's the last year. We won last year, and I'm pretty sure we were ranked seventh in the power rankings. Everyone thought our
Right.
draft was bad, and then we steamrolled the whole tour. So hopefully this year it's not like the opposite of that happens, where everyone thinks we're good and then we get stomped.
Yeah, it's always funny seeing the power rankings and reflecting on them the year after because they never pan out as predicted.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I'm
in
pretty
terms
sure
of
you were like ranked pretty high. I'm gonna check, but
Yeah, onto your team. You have some big names too.
yeah, so on to our draft. So this was my first time managing for any tournament, so it was kind of I didn't really know what to expect going into the draft. I wasn't super sure on how to manage it, how to kind of work things. We had some names that we really wanted to get, and we didn't have a lot on the board going into it. We didn't retain anyone, and we self-bought me, so it was just one slot filled in going in. But our main target going into the draft, who we were able to get, was Fish Anemometer, who's kind of really perked up recently in SVPU. Um, so we'd set aside 25 for him, and we got him at 20, which is probably on the more expensive side. But we found in our other SV slots, we were looking for like as big as names as you can get to just fill in and play off of teams that can get past. And we were really happy with what we got in that. We got Floss for 13k, I think it was, which we weren't especially gunning for Floss, but if we were able to get him under 16k, we kind of said definitely. So we were super happy at that range, and the same thing for Clean or Clean Cuts. We got them at 9k, and we're really happy with that pickup as well, um, which really shores up our SV. Best of three, we ended up getting Danny, who actually wasn't initially part of our draft plan. That was more of an upbid. Um, we're happy with 15k Danny. We thought he'd go for more, so we were just putting the money out there. And for that to stop at 15k and for us to end up with him, we're actually very happy with that and playing him in best of three. But when that happened, it kind of threw off our draft plan, and I think as a result, we've ended up a bit weaker than I'd like to be in the old gens. Especially, I'd say Horus, Black White, and maybe lacking support a bit in ADV, DPP, which I
Mm,
think will be our biggest. I think if we struggle this season, that will probably be the main issue we run into. We SM, we have Soul Gazer playing in, which we're really happy with, and we have enough support in the back to kind of shore that up. Or if, with SG, the obvious worry is potential activity issues, but provided they're around, we're very happy with what they can give, and we have some subs if they're not able to. Horus, we didn't really get anyone until the very end of the draft. Splash, who we have starting, actually ended up coming to us in a trade we made at the end. We drafted Somalia and made that trade. So that kind of gives you an idea of where we were at in that slot. Horus was another one
yeah.
of those gens. I don't know if anyone else found this, but we've really struggled to find good names to fill the Horus slot. They're just... We had budgeted for Tasker up to like 14k, and I think they ended up going for 17 nearly.
Yeah, I think Tasker was much higher than I expected. He was
Like
17.
17.
Yeah. So that really threw us off a bit because that was one of the slots where Tasker was one of the main names we wanted, and I think when he ended up getting nommed, we just didn't have the money to, or I didn't think we had the money to pay 8 big for him. Retroactively, we probably could have because we ended up with way too much money at the end. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that probably wasn't managed as well as it could have been, and we've kind of ended up in a bit of a hole in Horus. Because like Tasker's great in Horus. Avarice was another name who signed up specifically for Horus. And then looking at the rest of the Horus pool, Megazard is another one who I think will do well. But outside of those three, I don't think there's anyone in that Horus pool who I'm super confident in doing super well. Um,
Yeah, TSR maybe.
hmm,
Um, if we were, yeah, you're actually right with the ORAS pool being a little weaker. I think our plan was always Avarice, but if for some reason he was too much, I was gonna slot myself there just because I didn't know who else to get.
yeah. Um, yeah, I actually thought Avarice would end up going for more than they did. They're still expensive at 13.5, but
Yeah,
like I would have been very happy
It's
to pay
worth.
that for
He's
them.
like,
Uh, but
yeah.
well, he's like 12-2 in our SPL overall.
Mm-hmm.
what was that?
And he went
Yeah,
like
he's like
12 and
12-2
2 in
in our SPL.
ORSPL.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but looking at your team, I think your SV is quite strong. Fish has been killing it in um, individual tours. I don't think I've ever seen them play a team tour, so it'll be interesting to see how they do.
I think their last
Um,
team tour was in like 2020.
oh wow, okay. So it'll be interesting to see
Yeah.
how they do. Floss, I think, is a really good buy. I think he's quite good. I'm pretty sure I ranked him first out of SV players. Uh, I think if he puts in the effort and brings good teams, he can do really well. Green is solid. I don't probably won't have the best tour, but it really just depends on the effort they put in.
Mm.
Your old gens, I think you, similar to me and Gum, you being able to buy yourself was a really good for your team. I definitely consider you one of the better SS and overall players. Um, Soul Gazer. Soul Gazer is a wild card because I
Yeah.
feel like every tour he either farms or he does terribly. I think he's probably like just looking at your roster, I feel like Soul Gazer is probably gonna be what makes or breaks. If he can have one of his like old school Soul Gazer Sun and Moon performances, then you guys could be really, really good. And then old gens. For Jabba the Griffin and DPP, I've bought him before. He actually builds his own stuff,
Yeah.
and he has a good understanding of the tier.
I
So I
I
think he's a good buy.
I teamed with Jabba last PUPL, and I was really impressed. He was on the Dennis last year. I was really impressed with what he did. Like, he was active presence, builds his own stuff, actually takes like a vested interest in the tournament, and I think for a tier like DPP, that's really nice to have, and especially getting him at 4K. I was very
Yeah,
happy with that pickup.
4K was a good deal. And then Jizu is solid. Unsure how they'll do in ADV, but they're a solid player. And I think Danny in best of three is probably one of the better players in the slot. Um, he's I think he's pretty good overall, so he should do well. I
I
think
know
overall
Jizu
it'll just
usually.
be on. Oh, what did you say? I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. You can just finish.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think overall your team will probably depend on support. Like if the ORAS black and white ADV and some of the SV slots, if they're able to get good support, I think they're good enough to where they can do well. And then Soul Gazer, like I said, is a wild card.
Mm. Um, and
Yeah, I
that
think.
was one thing we kind of targeted at the end of the draft. We ended up with a lot more money than we planned on having at the end of the draft, so we were able to at least get supports for every slot except, I'd like to say, black white. We don't really support, which is probably going to be an issue. But
Hmm.
SV, we should have a lot of options for teams there, which is something I wanted to prioritize, and I'm kind of glad we were able to get done.
Yeah.
I think we had the
I
biggest team.
think. Oh, okay. Just
Sorry, go ahead there. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
okay. I think Jizu is like good. Like I know he always does well in ADV and U. It's like super positive in that tier. So I think he's like probably one of the better ADV players. But also like who were you gonna get for best of three if not for Danny?
Who did we have in mind for best of three? I actually don't even remember. Let me see if I had in my draft notes. But yeah, the Jisoo pickup, I was surprised at how much they ended up costing. I thought they were going to be a little bit on the expensive side. Was able to get them for 6K in the end, which I was very happy with. Um, and that was 6K despite the fact that I upbidded myself twice on that. I think, I don't know if you remember that or saw it in the draft. I think Howkins put down a 4.5, and then I put down a 5.5, and then I put down a point 0.6 with no one intervening. So I was surprised to see
Yeah.
no one was really going for them. But to answer your question there, Gum, initially I was going to best of three. That was the plan, and then we ended up with Danny, and I was like, oh okay, well I'll move into SS. For initially I was going to best of three, and then we were going to target Orenberry Blissey or FC to play in SS.
Gotcha. Think go on to the Baidoofs?
Yep, absolutely.
ZS.
Yeah, sure. Basically, like, as soon as we got Ninja Dog Retain confirmed, we were like really relieved because the black and white pool is very shallow. So we were like going in with probably one of, if not the going into the draft. So we were very happy about that. I think most of you don't know Arcobaleno at all. If not, like he's been consistently great at SM. And just a really good player that just flies under the radar. You probably like heard of Schizo accounts on ladder. They top like every lower tier.
Yeah.
He's the one behind them, so I was like very confident on the self buy since like I think for 10k it's like kind of a steal in my opinion. I was originally gonna slot myself in best of three because last year I like had the best record in best of three, so it was like I could do it again. But we ended up getting Mens at like 16 So I just thought to myself that I'd move to SV, but then I got 3 great SV players. No one in DPP, so I just moved there. Like nothing went according to plan. We wanted Tasker in RS because it's like the only known quantity that we had in mind for the RS pool. But we ended up getting Ariana Grande, which I think is a very, very good player. And also did well in RS last year, if I recall correctly. Like, they went 4-1
No,
or
he
something
only went
around.
like 2-1. Like played 2 games for us. And he
Oh.
played well.
Yeah, he played well and he built his own stuff and he's very active. I think like he'll do well, probably around 4-3 or 5-2 if I could guess. Like I'm confident in that slot. And then in SS, like we decided to go for FC. FC is someone I know and who's just like a good player. I'm interested in SS lately because he's played a lot of CS game in SSPL and he's been liking the tier by
That
since he
that
usually
that's
like
one name I
yeah.
was really interested in on the sign-ups because if I remember right, they sign up specifically to play SSPU.
Yeah, they only signed up for SS. And like they told me in advance that they were very interested in playing the tier. So it's like I have teams if necessary. I play this as a good amount. I know the tiers, so even if he needs support, I could provide for him. But it appears that he doesn't need anything, so I think he'll be fine. And for the as Felly like very early into the draft for 10k, I was like super happy about that buy because Felly usually farms in these lower tier PLs. Being in finals of EU Open too. So I think he's a very good buy. Z Strats, I was just like bidding on the Daves because I know they're like a consistent Dave player. But now we got the double ZS core, so I don't know how that do. I think they're very good. And Luck was also an update on you, Gum, because I knew you were like probably looking forward to get him, and we want to be player, or just swap myself there and have someone for DPP who I could like give teams to. But we ended up getting them for very cheap, if I recall correctly. So I just like was happy with it and started myself on DPP. And that's about it for our draft. Like
I think your draft is very interesting. My biggest concern with that team is, and you may have something in mind for this, but where are the SV teams coming from? Because from your 3 SV and your best of 3, I don't think any of them build SVPU, and I'm not sure anyone else on your roster is providing that support.
yes, so for SV, I was going to the tournament thinking that I had it covered and Arco had.
Okay.
Like we were building a lot of SV. I did like fairly well in PU Open too, so I know my way around the tier. So like I'm going to provide for them, and they'll do well with good teams. I think I have like enough teams to provide for like the whole tour already.
Okay.
In that regard, my biggest concern is the old gen support because I have no idea how Black and White plays, but Ninja Dog maybe I discover. And like DPP, I used to be like very very good at this year, going positive in most of the tours. Like I played in P World Cup and PUPLs. Really like 2 years, so I have to get back into it. And ADV will just be like super epic Ampharos. Oh, I forgot to talk about him. Super epic Ampharos is amazing in ADV, like across all tiers. He just has like super good understanding of the gen as a whole. and it shows like in NUPL when I had him for 3K and he just like owned the pool and went 6-1.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
That's who we were targeting at ADV as well. I saw they went
No.
3K in NUPL. I thought we could get them. I thought we could get them under 10K. They ended up going 15.5, which I was amazed with.
Yeah, I was like looking forward to having for cheap, but like Ishtar was like is like on my team in NUPL, and she knew too that Super Vic and First was amazing at ADV, so they probably targeted too. So like I resigned to put like at least 17. No,
Yeah,
full well they could go positive.
We were actually gonna go for him too. I knew he was gonna be expensive just because I thought Dave was because he's a good friend of Dave's and he's on a lot of the Dave teams. I thought Dave was gonna go really, really high on him, which it was more you and Ishtar bidding against each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like him in ADV. I think you guys got a great buy there. Ninja Dog is great. I think you can do well in DPP. Your Menson best of three in these, as long as he gets decent teams that he likes. So yeah, I like your roster overall. I think your SV has a bit of flop potential. I think they're all solid, self-sufficient, and they're probably not going to be people that necessarily try hard. So I could see them getting beat by more builder heavy players, if that makes sense. Just because it's SV2 and with Terra and all of that stuff, if you don't know the tier really well, you can get cheesed pretty easily.
Yeah, I agree. I think like the SV core is kind of these players. I know they're good, and like if they put their mind into it, they probably like end up with good records. I just
Hmm.
like I know Luck is already laddering. He asks for teams and he's like trying to learn the tier. So I think he's probably the one with the most knowledge this far. But like I think Felly and Z-Stras will probably catch up if they start flopping from the first 2 weeks. They probably catch up to the Heats in like starting from week 3 at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the SV part is probably like maybe the weakest part of our roster, but they could be fine. Like they're probably the ones who are gonna either make or break the team.
Yeah, I agree. Think if your SV does well, then you guys are definitely a playoff contender.
Mm. I think
Are you
when
ready for? Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
go on.
Shane.
I was gonna say I think when your old gens is that strong, it positions you really well because I think it can be easy. Like I don't think it's that hard to kind of go 1 or 2 or 2-1 in SV any given week, but when you have really consistent old gens, I think that's what can carry you into playoffs in a lot of tours, and that's what this team has.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I think like we were focusing on Ulgens to have the most solid Ulgen cores of all because from my previous managing experience and watching PUPLs, the ones who usually like were going all the way. So that was my game plan going into it, and having like probably a middle of the pack with good like big hit potential and also like big flop potential as V. If they hit, we're going to be super strong, I think. If they don't, well, we'll try to figure it out another way.
I think with that out of the way, we can move on to the Slagoomfies. If you want to take that over, Ishtar.
Yeah, of course. Well, Asa and I, and of course, it's always sort of trial and error. But I think we're pretty happy with what we ended up with. We mostly just wanted self-sustain. I feel like that was the main objective of our draft. And I feel like if you look at the players, you probably won't think that we're gonna. You're not looking at the most consistent teams in terms of like. I don't think we have the biggest names in comparison to people who we trust a lot. So we were really happy to get Chloe. That was one of our main priorities, and we also really wanted Evie. Um, I feel like in all of the tiers we have people who we can trust. And if that's not the case, in like best of three, we have enough support to really just nail that down with the rest of us. So yeah, for SV, we're mostly just thinking that Asa and I could do it. And then we wanted Axertex, who's a player who's been doing really well in this gen and UPL, and who we feel like can just consistently do well, be sort of a wild card for some people. And for SS, we got Mary. I've been building a lot with Mary, and I really like the stuff she's been using. And I was really happy to get Chloe as well for SM. But I think the main thing with our team is that we have a lot of flexibility because Asa and I both can play SM or S if need be. We have Evie who's really interested in ADV as well. We have Mary who's sort of building across a lot of stuff as well. But yeah, I think the main thing that we wanted to get out of this draft that we didn't get was a big name. Like we really wanted to get Kaiter. He was like our top priority, and then we had also considered players like Valley because I didn't see that he was a bid, so I felt sort of I feel pretty stupid about that, but it's okay. But yeah, we managed to get Evie for kind of cheap because Evie hasn't been playing black and white for like 2 years, but she used to be one of the most trusted her now to be able to carry that. And we really wanted C as well, since we've been talking about ADV. But we also sort of feel like it's going to be sort of a wildcard slot. Lunala has been really putting in the work in that slot already. It's been our most used channel, and that says a lot about the gen. And I'm actually quite happy that we managed to get it in this PUPL because it seems like a lot of fun, and it seems like people actually really care about it. So yeah, I'm happy about that. I guess the one thing that we didn't get out of this in terms of player, apart from Kaiter, is that we also wanted a more I think we wanted Thiago. Yeah, we wanted Thiago for best of three, and that it was gonna be Thiago or Kaiter. And that's probably like the biggest thing that we feel like we were lacking in. But I feel like we have some of the best support all around, and people who really give a fuck more so than a lot of other teams. And I don't feel like we're lacking in any because we even got people that try it out like Rahel and Ara who are putting in the work, who are gonna put in the work a lot in all gens, and we have Sergio, who's one of the most consistent players in terms of keeping up with like ADV and black and white. So we also have the prior flexibility that I was talking about. So yeah, I don't think you're looking at the team that team and you're gonna think like, wow, they're really gonna pop off. But um, I think the care and the love that a lot of us have for some of these tiers is hopefully really gonna show in our play. Because I trust these people and I also trust them a lot as friends. So I'm pretty happy with how this went. It's not exactly what I was looking for, but it is a team that I'm really happy that we managed to form. Just really love the people. Yeah.
When I look at the team, I think you guys all being friends is gonna help. Just because I feel like some of these players in a vacuum are pretty tilt prone.
Right.
Which is probably off to a slow start, um, it could it could turn a little sour. You have like Evie Garo and Mary and Lunala. Um,
Hmm.
you just have a lot of players that are tilt prone. So I think it's important that you guys get off to a decent start and keep team morale high. And then I think you guys
Yeah.
could start to cruise a little bit. So I think your early tour will uh, probably set the tone for you guys. But I do think you have a lot of potential. Evie Garo's really good at black and white. Lunala's solid. Chloe's solid. You guys in SV are solid.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think with this team, you definitely have the support. Like, in terms of just general tier knowledge across all the generations, I don't think you're going to get beat out by any team. My biggest worry is just, do you have the playing power to support that, I guess?
Yeah.
Because like you said, you weren't able to get any of the big names you were going for, and like when I look at the when I look at some of the slots, I see like a lot of consistency and a lot of players who can probably pull out a positive or like a neutral record, but there's no one that stands out to me as someone who's going to go super positive or like really carry you guys to the playoffs.
Yeah,
So
that's fair.
that would be my biggest concern. But I could also see this being the type of team where if you are able to prep well, you know your slots well, you can steal a lot of wins. And like Pix was saying, I'd say vibes wise, this is probably one of the best teams out there. Like you all know each other well. I'd say it's a really fun team to be on, which does play for a lot in these type of tours. Just staying consistent with your team.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
We're just really happy we were able to get this roster. I feel like you and I had sort of the same issue where we ended up with a lot of money later on, and we were like, dang, we kind of should have gone broke on someone else earlier.
Yeah,
But yeah, it ended up working out. Hopefully, it stays working out that way.
I was actually
That's something. The more you manage, the more you'll learn. It's best to just dump money early and get who you want early, because
Right.
the worst feeling is at the end when you have so much money and you have to pay 18K for someone you didn't even want just to spend the money, sort of. Which
Hmm.
I mean, I feel like you probably wanted all of these players anyway, but just as a reference.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely what I got out of that draft. I knew halfway through, I was like, oh, all half like most of the good players are off the board already, and I have like 4 players.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I guess you can see it a bit here. There's like a fair few 3K pickups.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, something else that we sort of were considering were all of these like sort of less proven in team tours players like Fish and Ty Carter, who
Mm.
ended up going for a lot more than we thought. Um, but they're also not the type of players that you usually want to put on 20K plus on,
Mhm.
because that's more so just you more so just want people like Hyther for that sort of that level of player
Yeah,
who you know is gonna be already proven in those slots, but it's okay.
Yeah.
definitely if you're able to support those with teams and the likes. What I really liked with Fish and why I particularly wanted to go for them is they're self-sufficient and they can help out other slots. Whereas
Yeah.
the likes of a Kyther, well, they will put up a good record. Like they'll definitely put up a good record, but it's 22K or whatever it was, on top of the fact that whatever amount of money providing teams is worth, which
Right. Yeah.
is something one of the main things I was considering in my draft, but I'm still not entirely sure how important that is.
Yeah, it'll shine during the tournament. I think like my only concern with this league is I think every slot can probably go positive if they put their mind into it, and I think they will. But like my biggest concern is the SV core. I think you can probably do it. Like you're knowledgeable and you're probably good enough to put up a good record. But in this brand new meta with all the new drops and stuff, figuring out quickly what's gonna be good, and since it's like kind of an uncharted territory, I think like for the first few weeks, the bigger names will probably if they get provided with good enough teams.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah,
Yeah,
especially
since
with
like
the
there's
metagame
no
being new.
yeah. Can you repeat? I didn't hear that.
Sorry, I said especially with the metagame being so new, it's like
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
where I think like yeah,
no, I was just gonna say that I feel like just getting an edge on that on the builders is something that I've personally always valued, and that's also a reason why we have so much support across the board because I feel like that's where you get an edge. If you don't feel like you're one of the if you're not one of the biggest names, you need to figure that out for yourself. So yeah,
yeah,
we're just gonna hope that we are able to get that edge off on our players and do well.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
So we go to the Dave's
yeah,
Doublades.
I think we can just go through it
Yeah.
that way. Look at the doublades.
Now, running through this team, I mean, we can go through slot by slot, but my initial thoughts, I feel like this team has a lot of cancer potential.
Yeah,
Even on their bench, they have people like Somalia, who is a known cancer risk. But yeah, going through, they got T Leonard, Ty Carter, Togkey in SV. I don't really know who's gonna be building. Does Ty Carter build?
from what
Yeah,
I've
he's been
heard,
building.
Togkey is providing for all those slots,
Okay, that's
which
in.
I'm not entirely sure how that will work out. Maybe for the first few weeks it will, but I could see
Yeah,
that being a huge problem later on in the tour.
yeah, especially if they don't do well and Togkey loses motivation,
Yeah,
then then the teams just either they don't pass teams at all or the teams just lose quality, and then it just snowballs downhill. Aren't very Blissey in SS. I think he's a solid NU player, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't really seen him play PU, so I'm not too sure how he'll
Um,
do.
I know he made
there initially
classic
is a new
finals.
player who has kind of started branching out a little bit.
Oh,
Uh,
gotcha.
I
Oh, he
think
did make Classic.
yeah, I think they'll do well. They started every week in SSPL as well. I'm not
Hmm.
entirely sure how well they ended up doing, but they do know the tier at least, and I think they like it quite a lot. I've talked. They're one of the people I'll talk to quite often when I'm looking for feedback on SSPU and stuff. So they're not just being slotted in to fill the tier. At least they do know what they're doing.
That's good. In Sun and Moon, we got Leru. I'm going to assume that he'll be past teams by Rob. Every time I've teamed with Rob in PUPL, he has like a giant Sun and Moon PU team dump he posts, and then usually people just pick teams from that.
Yeah,
So, I mean, it can be predictable though, because if you just scout
yeah,
Rob's past Sun and Moon PU performances, there's like you'll see one of those teams. But Leru's solid, so
yeah. A
I think he
10k
can
as
outplay
well.
bad matchups. Yeah, 10k is not bad.
I
Whereas
think
we
that
got
he would have been
Blue.
better in SS.
Yeah, probably. Um, yeah, I guess he probably just filled whatever slot they didn't have a player for, and maybe he can swap later if him and R and Barry Blissey aren't.
I think Orenberry Blissey was the other sign up who only signed up for SSPU. I think it was
Oh,
them and FC.
so that's not very flexible then.
No, not really.
Well, that
They
could
could
be
easily swap
interesting.
with Rob and Planet.
Yeah, they could. In Oras, we got Blue YM. Not super familiar with them, so can't really say much.
I
Blue's
I don't know
think
if
they
blue's
any.
been
played.
around a while.
Yeah, I think like they ran around in like for a while, and they've never been like a very big tour face. Like I've seen them mostly on ladder, and I think they're like solid
Yeah.
enough to make the Oris pool is not that strong anyway.
They
But
always
like he's
do. Oh,
also
sorry.
yeah, he's also like big cancer potential.
Uh, yeah,
So
so that
yeah,
fits the theme of the team.
Hmm.
yeah. But I guess like with Dave managing, maybe something will happen. We don't know. Dave has some magic.
Yeah, Dave has a way of getting people to participate and want to put effort in.
Yeah.
Um, I know he's also managing like 500 other tours though,
Yeah.
so who knows how much time he's actually putting into PUPL. But I
Like
think he also has every single team he's managing in one Discord server, so there's going to be like 500 people there, and maybe that camaraderie helps this team stay together.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. I don't know if any of yous are on any of the Dave's teams. I'm on one for Black White PL, but despite all the teams, they do a pretty decent job of checking in, like making sure things are going well and running the team quite efficiently.
Yeah, I know Leru doesn't go outside, so he has 24 hours a day to check in.
yeah,
Then Phoenix and Black and White. I actually did not see that Phoenix signed up. Had I seen that, I probably would have retained him. I think he's quite good in Black and White. Last year he had an off year for us where he eventually got benched, but I think he can bounce back this year and put up a really strong performance. He's super try hard with prep and he's solid as a player.
yeah, definitely. Phoenix. Like if we didn't have Ninja Dog in our retained pool, it's probably the player that I would have gone for. Like he's super consistent, and he's been like, especially lately in every big Black and White tier, he's been doing like really well. So
Yeah,
that might
I know.
translate to this tour.
Yep, I know Black and White RU and RUPL and then even OU. I think in like global championship he made finals. So he's just been really good in Black and White.
Yeah.
And I think the Black White pool this year is weaker than last year's one, which might help
Yeah,
a bit to kind of.
I think like it has the same like top players: Ninja Dog, Tack, Phoenix, Evie, and LPZ.
I think no TJ is a big difference.
Yeah, I mean TJ wasn't even like going for a full season in Black White. He was swapping between tiers.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, he was going sometimes in SV, sometimes in DPP. TJ was just like the player on the Hunt Tails last year that was just going to pick up a win no matter where he was slotted in.
Mm.
And since like Black White was the main weakness of that team, he just happened to be there. He's not like the most consistent Black and White player ever, too. Like he's probably on par with the likes of Ninja Dog and Evie.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So
fair.
I think like it's not that weak. I think like probably the weakest pool is like DPP, I'd say.
I actually like the DPP pool. Well,
Yeah,
I
I
think the
actually think the
DPP pool is
Oris
pretty
pool is
top
the
heavy.
weakest.
Yeah, Oras is pretty weak. But speaking of DPP, we got Hot Skitty on Whalelord action
Is
in
that really his name?
DPP. Yeah, that's
Is
what
that
it
really what
stands
that
Is
for.
stands
that
for?
I
Yes, it is. That is legitimately what it stands for.
had no
That's
idea.
hilarious.
But he put up a good record last year, if I'm not mistaken. He went positive. He was the most expensive DPP this year,
Yeah.
and I think he can do well. The pool is weaker than it was last year because TJ was swapping into it a couple times last year. There's no, pretty sure General Annoyance isn't playing this year. So quite a few big names aren't in it. So I think he can do even better than he did last year and put up a
Yeah,
one of the top
yeah,
records.
yeah, definitely.
They were
I think
4-3 last year.
Okay, yeah, I think they can go 4-3 or better this year.
Yeah, for sure. I think like DPPPU is such like a high variance tier that you can't like
Yeah.
really
Hmm.
predict what you're going for.
That's
So
why I always worry about putting away so much money for a DPP slot.
yeah, that makes sense because like
Yeah.
you have so much going into in this tier. Paralysis everywhere, sleep is so broken. Like you have no way to consistently like win in DPP.
Yeah, the so much in DPP is because my draft philosophy is very big on tiebreak, and I feel like
Okay.
DPP is the hardest, or non-preview gens are the hardest gens for like a quote unquote good player to just sub into and play in a tiebreak. So I always want a strong old gens player that can give me a strong tiebreak performance, and Haysup does that in DPP and ADV.
That's fair.
Um,
Yeah,
so I feel like HSOWA does that for them too in DPP and ADV.
for sure, for sure.
And then in ADV they have Medea, who used to be descending. Um,
Did they?
I've
I,
heard their name around. I'm
yeah.
not super familiar with
Okay.
them though.
On the ADV Cup in Classic, not
Oh,
sure.
So
oh,
Medea
okay.
is the person I wanted to get for ADV, and I don't know if you remember in the draft when their name came up in the auction thing. There was some error with it, and it said they only signed up for SS and they were a no for all other tiers.
Oh, I
And
saw that too. That's why I didn't. I
yeah,
remember that now.
and
Okay.
that kind of spooked me out. Even though I knew in my head they signed up for ADV and Black White,
Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, oh whoa, I'm already super top heavy at my SV and SS. If this is right, I'm going to be really stuck. And then I pulled out a bidding for them, which
Mhm.
that's one of the things that's annoying me the most after that draft. I would have been really happy to get them. I think it would have shored up a lot of the issues I got. I think they're quite good. They did very well in ADV PU Cup. And then they did all right the in classic playoffs. So I think they should be. Think they should at the very least hold a neutral record in ADVPU, which at the price they were is fairly solid.
Yeah, 8.5K. It's not bad at all.
Sorry to cut you
And
off, but I have something that came up. I need to go.
Not a bother. Thanks very much
okay.
for joining,
Thanks
and good luck
for
with the tour.
see you.
Yeah, then best of 3 we got Rob. Rob's really good at Sun and Moon. He's solid in SS too. He played for me in PU World Cup in SS a couple times, so he can do well there. And I'm pretty sure he's still in SV Open for our PU Open in
Yes, he
SV.
is.
So overall, he's a good best of 3 slot. He'll need to be past teams for SS and Sun and Moon, or I mean in SS and SP. But as long as he's past teams, he'll do fine.
Yeah, yeah. Rob's good. Like, Rob can just play the game.
Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to Rob. He'll just play the games and play well.
Yeah, you know what you're getting there. Um,
Yep.
Overall on this team, I'm mostly just worried about that SV.
Yeah, same.
Like I
The
think,
SV and then some of their other slots with
yeah,
like blue, potentially cancer. I
yeah,
think I think they're similar to the Goomies in that if they can get off to a hot start and get motivated, they'll do fine. But if they
yeah,
get off to a slow start, I could see them just tanking.
yeah,
And it's
definitely.
actually interesting that the Two Blades and the uh, Sligoomies play themselves week 1
Yeah,
because this could be like a deciding week for both of them in terms of mental.
yeah, definitely.
So want to go to the
Yeah,
Leafeons?
yeah,
So, uh, they have an interesting lineup. I think Kither was the most expensive player in the tour.
I think so.
They're very
22k.
solid. They're very solid. I don't know if they're most expensive player in PU were level solid, but
Mm,
I positive record. Liz Angeles, I am not familiar with them.
that's a name I've also never heard.
Um,
I was
Yeah,
surprised to see
same
them
here.
starting.
they're used, I think.
Say that
Yeah,
again, Go?
and they
I think they like had a decent record in like SSPL, but
Okay.
they're not
Mhm.
even playing SS. Like I don't know how at least decent.
hmm
Oh, they're from Ireland.
Oh yeah, they are your neighbor.
My neighbour. I'm
Yeah,
instantly a
so
fan.
yeah. And then mashing's decent. They had a good Are You Open run. I think are they in Grand Slam? No, they missed Grand Slam playoffs, but
I want to say
uh
Mashing. Um,
yeah, they're a decent player.
I think for that price tag, they did really well to pick them up.
hmm
What was it? Yeah, 3.5k for Mashing, I think, is a really big steal.
Um the problem I have with this SV core, which I've had with a couple SV cores now, is I have no idea who's going to be building.
Yeah.
Uh, and Oversway, I don't think they're super active in SV, so I don't know if they'll be building. And they building subs. Their subs are LBN, Cirrus, and Bella.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of them really actively build. So it'll be interesting to see what they use.
Yeah,
I
that's a big
think
worry
Bella
there.
builds.
Bella
I think
builds.
Bella builds, but I
Yeah.
think but the issue is just I don't think it's like I mean this could be like a good like building experience for her, but just starting I don't think she's at the level of like other builders on other teams.
Yeah.
And I
hmm
don't think they like really have the playing to back it off. At least not like at first.
Yeah.
Um Also I think just even like they don't have support in SS either.
No.
The thing with
Like
SS though is because of he's probably just gonna reuse all of the Brazilian teams from World Cup, if I had to guess.
yeah, that's
They
true.
were all
But
from before the Scrafty ban?
I
Some
think
were, but I also know
like
they
yeah.
like notoriously didn't use Scrafty, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
I remember like and stuff like that, which is actually better post Scrafty probably.
Which one?
They spam these Absol teams.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Like Choice Bandit Absol. I think it was actually one has like it was Scarf Absol
Right.
was a staple of theirs. So he's probably just gonna steal and retool teams from Brazil.
Yeah. Do you know
He was
much about...
actually
Oh, sorry, go on.
I was gonna say he was actually someone Thiago who and I did not expect him to be 19k.
Yeah, it was, it's funny, I was talking to PDT during the draft, because he was looking at trading one of his players who we got for 9k, and he was like, any chance you could grab Thiago for us to trade for this player at 9k, and then Thiago more than doubled that.
Yeah. I think he can do well though. I was just surprised by the price tag. In Sun and Moon, we got Oversway, who, if I'm not mistaken, won PU Open like 4 years ago.
I think it was
Okay.
Um,
3, so it was like still in SS.
yeah, it's like early SS meta PU Open. But I haven't seen their name since then, so I don't know how active they are, um,
Yeah, I had
or if
actually
they
never
build.
seen their name leading up into this. I,
Yeah,
it makes
I,
sense
I,
now.
I completely forgot they won PU Open a few years ago until now because they just haven't played anything since then.
I think
But
he
yeah, they're
also
a
got a
big
name change.
wild card. What did you say? I'm sorry.
Also got a name change.
Oh, he did. What was their name before?
I mean, it was like I don't even know, but
Yeah, I don't
like
remember.
I'm gonna check.
Yeah, SM
Um,
pool is interesting. Like,
yeah, it is.
there's a few like that. Like I think Gondra might be another one where you're just not really sure what you're going to expect, what you're going to get from them.
Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns in SM. Um, this week one matchup is actually Oversway versus Arco. Yes.
How to pronounce it? I don't even know. Dominatio or something.
Oh,
Oh,
Dominatio.
Domination.
Okay,
Oh,
that
okay.
makes sense. Yeah,
Now I know them a little bit better.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, I think they could do decent.
I think so.
In Oras, we have the BKC of PU,
Yep.
who always comes back and plays these and does decent.
Yeah, yeah. I'd say Tasker will do very well, and like especially with how weak this Oris pool is. Yeah, I could see
Yeah, I
him
expect him to do really well.
6-1ing or 5-2ing this pool.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a pool he could definitely farm, quote unquote, just given his experience, and a lot of these people, even though they're good players, don't have a lot of experience in the pool. So he should be able to do well. In Black and Vulpix special tack. I think this is Tack's first team without me in like 3.5 years or something, something like that. Um, Tack's really good with prep. They prep really well. They've always done well for me on my teams, and they're a great chat presence. They will probably, I would expect them to go even in the black and white pool, or maybe positive. Um, but as long as she is motivated and she doesn't lose motivation, she'll do well.
Yeah,
Then in DPP we have Felines, who is someone if we didn't if Haste Up denied retain, we probably would have gotten Felines as a 3K DPP. Well, they were actually 6.5K, so maybe we wouldn't have gotten them. But Felines I know they've been playing the tier and trying to learn it recently, so maybe they will do well. Can't really say. They're a bit of an unknown.
yeah. There's someone
And I
I
think
was
he
also.
did well.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Gum.
He did well in Pew World Cup, and I think he went like I don't know 4-3 in DPPPL.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
Pretty
he
good
has some
then. Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, he has more experience than I thought. So yeah, he should be solid then. Got Shiloh and ADV. Now Shiloh is someone who is quite good,
Yeah.
but he also isn't going to care about this unless the team does well. So if the team gets off to a great start and they make playoffs, and he gets off to a good start, he'll put in some effort.
Yeah.
But if the team gets off to a slow start, he's just gonna give up and not care about this tour whatsoever. So he's a bit of a wild card.
Yeah, he doesn't even like have support. I think.
Yeah, he's gonna be having to fend for himself, I think.
Yeah, there's no ADV support at all on this team, and if he loses interest, well, I guess LBN signed up for ADV, so they do have an option there. But
Yeah, he
yeah,
could. He could pop off and carry this team, or he could just not care and lose to activity a couple weeks, and this team could be dead in the water.
yeah,
Although I think they do have other slots that can carry, so I don't think they're gonna get off. They're gonna flop right away.
yeah. Like the high end on this team is very high, with
hmm
Kyther and Tasker, two of the most expensive players in the draft, and
Yep.
Thiago as well at 19k. It's like three of the most expensive players. I'm not sure if Thiago is someone at 19k who can really carry a slot like that. I think Thiago's definitely good. Um, that is a lot of money to spend on that there. But Kyther and Tasker should be wins you can lock in every week. If Shiloh can put together a good tournament, I think that's kind of how you're looking at winning with this team.
hmm Yeah, I agree. They need if their top end can consistently perform, I think they will be a contender. And we didn't even mention Meru in best
Yeah,
of three. Meru is I don't really know. I feel like Meru is one of those players who can beat anyone but can also get destroyed by anyone. So I don't really know how they'll do. Um, and again, support
yeah.
is a
That's
big
kind of
question
where
mark for that slot.
I think Mary's definitely good, but again, this comes back to support for me in that, like, you've no SV support here, you've no SS support here, and then SM you're probably pulling from a pool of teams, so you should be fairly
Hmm.
easy to scout. And I think SM is one of those meta games which has developed a decent amount since the meta ended, and
Yeah.
I think we saw towards the latter half of PUPL last year the teams that were building fresh and kind of adapting to the offensive builds that were dominating were the teams who did really well in SM towards the end. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes there.
I think Mary's like motivated. Like I know he wants to do well. But just yeah, I don't think he has like a lot of support. Um,
Yeah,
Also like whenever I get him for tours, I know like he tries a lot. So I mean, I'm not like that worried for like his support. I just think he's like I don't know like ring wise in this pool. I think he's like kind of average. Like you have people above him, but also like people below him.
mm-hmm.
I think he could oh my god wait he could like easily go like 5-2 or like 2-5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just don't think he's like
yeah.
too reliable.
And I think that's kind of the story of this team in general. It's an odd collection of players.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not
But I think they have
sure
like
how
good
well it's going to
potential.
work out for them. I think, yeah, like they could do well, and like I think any team in the right circumstances can do well, but this is one of the ones I'd be worried about the most.
He thought it too, but honestly, I don't think they're like. I think they're um top four in the draft, but I think like I don't know. I think a lot of teams ended up being like kind of weird.
Yeah,
Even like
that's true.
ranking them is weird.
Yeah,
Ready to go to the Mag Mortars?
yeah, I'd say we're good to move on.
Yeah, Mag
Sweet.
Mortars. BB Scarm. He's someone we were interested in. I think
Yeah,
he's
someone we
solid,
wanted to.
and he builds,
Yeah,
which is always a plus in these tours.
yeah,
Fogbound Lake is a solid try-hard player, and if they get past good teams, they'll do well.
they go good for Newspeak
Tier,
as well.
yeah, Tier is someone I am not familiar with.
I Here's someone who I've kind of started seeing around because I think the Daves always pick them up at 3k at the end of drafts.
Okay.
I think they're good. I played them in SSPL. They beat me with Xcal stall. Yeah.
It's not Excalibur, it's mine.
It's Gums.
Is
It's
it Gum
Gumstall that
stall? Oh
Xcal
no.
stole. Yes.
Sorry, Gum.
Just fair warning to anyone who's watching this. Any team that XCal claims is his, it's like a 90% chance it's someone else's and he stole it.
But yeah, no, I think Tier's good. Uh, how good they'll be in this SV pool, which is fairly strong, I'm not too sure, but I think they should be able to at least keep up.
Yeah. Now, this next slot is SS DJ Breluminati.
Yeah.
Now, I don't really. I guess maybe they weren't planning on getting LPZ, and they kind of were forced to slot him into SS. But I feel like last year, he did quite well in black and white. Pretty sure he only lost one or two games, and they made finals. So it's just curious to see him retained and not put in black and white.
So for SSPL, DJ Balloonelli started in SSP for the entire tour, and they're in finals now. And
Yeah, I
I'm
think he's
pretty,
like,
I think he's like X and 1 in it or something. I think he's
yeah.
like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, he's 7-1 in SSPL and
Also, like he
SSP.
got a knack win.
Oh, did he?
Then I stand corrected.
That being
Sensei.
said, I'm not entirely sure how well he knows SS, even in spite of that, and I'm not sure he can really build in the tier. I think a lot of the stuff he's been using has been recycling stuff or stuff he's been passed. So
Hmm.
I am still slightly worried, despite how well he did in SSPL, which was very impressive.
I know PDT and Drud will build. Um, so
Yeah,
I know PDT in particular will build SS, so he'll probably be the one passing him teams. So
and
at
like
least he does have some support.
yeah, and PDT and Drud will try hard. Like I think that's
Yeah,
one of your big advantages with this team is like you've got two very involved managers who are both very accomplished players in PU.
yeah, I agree. I mean, they were the runners up last year, and they're just good managers. Ziri and Sun and Moon, how much was Ziri? 13.5K. Ziri's like the Sun and Moon staple at this point.
Yeah,
He always goes like 4-3, 5-2.
I think they had a
And
2-5 last year, which is
oh, did they?
yeah. I was looking at it. I was interested in getting them, and I think they had a pretty weak tournament, which yeah they did go to. Last year they were 19.5k and they went 2-5,
Oh,
which
geez.
kind of
I didn't
threw
know
me
that.
off a little bit.
Yeah, I know like over the past couple of years, they've been declining a bit in terms of records in tours.
Hmm.
Like a couple years ago when they were at their peak, he always farmed,
Yeah,
but now he's been putting up lesser records in tours. Um, I mean, I think he can do well in the
I
Sun
think
and
he
Moon
can.
pool. It's a weak pool.
Yeah, and I think in an active team like the Mags, you can. I could see a bounce back tour for Ziri here.
Yeah. Um, we got Zern and Oras, who is just a tournament player that they're growing in.
Okay.
I don't think he really has any experience in Oras, so he'll be past teams. Um, yeah. Zern's solid. He kind of plays everything, so I think he can adapt to Oras as long as he's given good teams. But I don't really expect him to put up a stellar record. He'll probably be like a 3-4, 4-3 guy.
I mean, it's just who even builds RS
It'll
I'm
it would
assuming
be
you're
again,
relying
it would be
on
PDT,
managers.
I
Yeah.
think, and Drud. I think those two are just gonna build every tier, which probably isn't the best because they're gonna be spread thin with
Yeah.
building and probably not produce the best teams, but at least it's something.
Yeah, it's an interesting way of approaching it. I I've tried that myself before of like supporting multiple slots at the same time. I feel like as the tour drags on or if you have a down week, it can be really hard to sustain that mentally and actually put together good teams, especially when you
Yeah,
don't have someone beside you who's like quality checking those teams and making sure you're not making silly mistakes.
that was my first PUPL I managed. I did that. I made that mistake where I self-bought to play and I was building for like 4 slots
Right.
and no one else was building on the team. And by halfway through the tour, I was almost wishing we would just lose so
Yeah.
it would end because I was so spread thin.
Yeah. That was me last PUPL. I
Hmm.
bought the play and then towards the end of the tour I was just providing for 4 slots for the last 4 weeks and it kind of drains you and saps a bit of motivation for the team.
It does. At the same time, because then it's hard to focus on yourself
Yeah, exactly.
and your own performance can be hurt by it. LPZ in black and white, he's pretty much a staple. Feel like he'll
Yeah.
always do well in black and white PU, so he was a good buy. And how much was he? 13K. That's a good price. If we had money, we would have gone higher, but I'm pretty sure we were capped at 12K at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's someone I
we would
wanted to
like to
get.
the max for him.
Yeah, we did go to our max.
Yeah, there's someone we
Um,
wanted to get as well.
hmm Drud, best D or tied for best DPP record with Ace Up last year, I believe. Um, he's really good at DPP, really try hard.
Yeah.
He always puts up like stellar records. So I don't expect anything else less from him this year.
Last year he actually
Um,
had, I think, the worst year I've seen him in DPPPU, which was 5-4.
oh, was he 5 and
He
4?
was 5-4. Was Hasep was 7-3.
Oh, okay.
But even at that, like you're still,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's still a
yeah,
solid record. So yeah, I expect him to do well. He's self-sufficient. In ADV, we have Lily, who is a solid player, and I know she plays ADV PU and
yeah.
ADV lower tiers, so she should be self-sufficient.
I think
She's
she's the
probably one of
best
the.
ADV.
Yeah, I'd agree. She's definitely one of the better.
Yeah.
Maybe not. She's definitely top two, I'd say, in ADV. I might rank
She won that last
Super Epic and
time.
for us above her, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's just she won the last two ADV PU tournaments.
okay.
She didn't
Yeah,
win
Like,
she's
the.
w-
she's good.
She went out round 2 in ADV PU Cup, I think.
Yeah, this year I don't think she won it, but the one before she did.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah,
And then PDT in best of three. PDT is always solid.
Yeah.
Typically in PU he doesn't do that well, so we'll see. But as a player, he's good and he's self-sufficient, so he's a good slot to have, especially since self-buying
Yeah, definitely.
didn't cost. It only cost some 16K, which isn't that much. Overall, this team, I think the Drud teams are always do well because him and PDT are always supporting and helping their teammates out. And I think this team has enough good players to where they can definitely do well.
Mhm.
I think their SV could be a little sketchy.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern as well.
I think it's relying on BB Scarm to build a bit because I don't think PDT and Drud really play SV.
Yeah.
But I think their old gens will do well, and if they can get SV squared away, then they'll be a threat.
And I think BB Scarm is going to be spread pretty thin with Slam. So I'm not sure he's
Yeah,
going to be able to provide SV for multiple slots. And like, I'm not even sure he is an SV builder that does provide for multiple slots.
yeah, I don't know either. So it could be, but their old gens could carry them through it.
Yeah. Yeah, like this
Yeah,
team is very scary. I think they'll do quite well. I think, like you
I
said,
he's been
agree.
they've
building a
got
lot,
such a
by
strong
the way.
manager core.
BB Scarm has been building a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
But still, it's a lot of effort, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, so 5 to 10 more minutes, then I'm gonna have to leave.
Yeah.
We could
We'll
run
fight
through
for the Haunters.
Haunter real quick,
Yeah.
which is a great team name. Hey,
Yeah.
that made me laugh when I saw it. But
Do we want to like fly through this and then do like a real quick rough
ranking.
1 to 8? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. So Dougza and Prodigies are both really good,
Yeah.
proven players. I think they'll do well. Ryuji, I'm not familiar with.
Neither.
Um, I don't think I've ever you or lower tiers in general, so they are an unknown. MJ in SSPU, he's an old Austrian player, I'm
Okay.
pretty sure. He used to play OU and he played World Cup a couple times. I don't think I've seen him play PU in like 3 or 4 years though,
Yeah,
when I first
I
started
might be
Smoke
like
On.
him.
So I don't really know how good he'll do. I don't even think he plays Pokemon in general that much anymore. So he's a bit of a wild card. Santu and Sun and Moon. Santu always plays Sun and Moon and always does decently.
He'll do well.
He's a solid player. Megazard and Oras. Megazard's been playing Oras since before any of us were born. Well, except maybe you, Shane. but
Right.
Megazard, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
He
He last
he'll
year
be
he
fine.
was 0-3 in best of 3, and then he slotted
Yeah.
into Oris and went 4-0.
Yep, I remember that. So Oras is definitely his tier, and with the weekend pool and some people that don't build, he should be able to out. Staxy in black and white. I'm pretty sure Staxy's played black and white a couple times and put up middle of the road performances. Which I guess for a cheap buy isn't the worst. How much was he? He was 5K. Yeah, 5K for like a 3-4
Yeah.
isn't that bad.
He was 0-3 in black white last year.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know it was that bad. But Pool is weaker, so
yeah,
maybe
no,
he'll
but
have a
like
little
he's a
more.
solid player.
Oh,
He can do
yeah,
alright.
he is. Estarossa, I'm not super familiar with them, but I've heard they're decent, and it's DPP, so
Yeah, they'll
I
be
feel like
super invested.
anything's possible.
And they'll be super
Yeah.
invested in all the old gens, which is nice.
Uh-huh. Mr. Soup. I've seen Mr. Soup play current gen. I haven't seen him play ADV.
I
I haven't.
don't think
Well,
they're much of a current gen player, but I'm pretty sure they've, for the last like year, dominated a lot of the lower tier GSC and ADV stuff.
okay.
They were my priority number one for ADV, and I looked
Gotcha.
away for like 10 seconds and they were off the board.
Yeah, they were only
Yeah.
3K.
Yeah, I
Some
thought
of the
they would
samples
go to
from this
like
year.
12, 13. I'm really surprised at how cheap they were.
Yeah,
So that's
some
a
of the
solid
samples
buy
from this
for them.
year are from him. So yeah, he knows his way around ADV a lot.
Yeah,
Gotcha. So he should do well.
yeah.
And then Yandod and Yondod in best of 3. That's a bit surprising.
Yeah, I like Jan. I don't know, retained at 16.5k and being slotted into best of 3. I'm not
Yeah, I
super
feel.
confident in that. I just think the
I
caliber of player in the other best of 3 slots is higher than what Jan's at.
Yeah, I would definitely probably try and slot Prodigies or Doug's on best of
Yeah.
3 Yondod into Oras.
Yeah,
Oh, actually, they have Megazard, so
they do
Yondod
this
into
year
black
too.
and white, I guess.
Yeah,
And then play someone off their bench into SV, just because I don't think he'll do too well in best of 3. But he is solid, so he might surprise us. And then, want to rank real quick?
yeah, sure.
Who are we thinking number 1?
Mm.
I
Team.
probably have the Twinkatuffs number 1.
Yeah, same here.
I think outside of my own team, I would probably say the Magmortars. But I guess if you two are both on Twinkatuffs, we'll just have them number 1.
Perfect.
Then number 2, I'd say number 2. Then I would probably put Magmortars or the Denes.
Yeah,
I
same.
have Magmortars at 2.
Yeah, I agree
Okay.
with McMortars as well.
Yeah, I think the Magmortars are really solid as well.
Number 3,
Mm,
the
Mm.
I think it's like
Denes
where it gets.
or the. Yeah, I would say number 3, the Denes, the Leafeons, and the Bidoofs are probably all in that like 3, 4, 5 range.
Mm.
I would probably put, just because the Denes have more support than I would probably put the Den or Leafeons 5, Sligoomys 6, Haunter 7, and Doublades 8 would be my personal rankings.
I think that's fair, but like I don't know. I feel like think I have Leafeons at 3.
Hmm.
I just think they have like I just think I
I
have
think
more
it.
potential. Even like in their slots, I like don't have support. I think they have like
Yeah.
more potential than the Denny's.
I think if the Leafeons had more support, they would be an easy 3 or potentially a 2 for me. It's just the lack of the support
Yeah, that's my worry with the
is
Leafeon and
is.
the other two SV slots.
Hmm.
I think
But yeah,
I think for me there are too many question marks with the Leafeons to put 3.
yeah.
Um,
I think that's
if
fair,
I
but
was
I just feel
looking at
like,
it, oh, go ahead, Ishtar, or whoever that was. Sorry,
That was gone.
sorry. Go ahead, Gum.
but I feel like it's fine because I feel like um after Maddox, I think most teams have like flaws that are like really noticeable, and I think are going to be annoying. But I think at this point,
Yeah,
I
I
think it
think we.
depends on like who we
Sorry.
trust more as like players. I
Hmm.
think Leaf Hounds have like the potential to do pretty well. Like they have good old gens. Even like in the, a lot of support in, they still have like good players. Really, the only issue I see with them would be like SV. I'm assuming like Aether is like at least be familiar with it here if he did like so well in open. I think he's like in semis now. So it's like even I don't think SV is like that big of an issue for them.
Hmm. Um,
I think having the Denny's at 3 also makes sense, but I don't want them to be at 3 because they didn't like get rid of all of their money. That's ugly.
yeah, fair.
Hmm.
Pix is gone. Just to say thanks very much for the Pix for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I feel very like we all feel like the latter half is a lot more close.
Yeah, definitely. I think like this is very much preliminary rankings. We can just say the Denny's and Leafeons at 3 and 4 without an order to it.
Sure, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I think I also agree, but yeah, that's fine either way.
or like, yeah, just in that range, one of the two teams.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um. And then if
And
I
then
was
I
looking at the next one, I think if I'm looking at it in kind of brackets, I'm looking at Bidoof and Slagoomfies as 5 and 6, and Haunter x Haunter and the Blades at 7 and 8.
yeah, yeah, can't really say there because it's my team. But yeah, I agree with the other two. Yeah.
I think I would put Hunter. I think they have a good team to just don't have support in SV like at all. And even like SS doesn't look like that good support. And I don't really think they have a huge to even like back that lack of support of. I guess they have
Yeah.
Sentu, but instead of him, it's like I don't think I would really trust anyone like any given week in the pool that like they're against.
You're cutting out so much on my end.
Yeah, I missed a little bit of that. I'm sorry.
Okay, wait, what did you hear and what did you not hear?
Um, you were talking about the Bidoof's SV, I think, and then I kind of lost you after that.
Oh, sneak. Okay, it was hunters, but I was going to say like I think they just don't have support at all. Like even outside of SV, I don't think their support is like very good. I
Yeah,
mean, it's like I don't think I would really trust a lot of their slots like win often because they just like don't have support. Also, I don't know like how much people on that team are going to care.
I can see what you mean on that. Yeah, it's like, yeah, when you've got a lot of people on the team who aren't affiliated with PU or aren't super involved in it, like the Badus have, I think you've got a very high risk of people just kind of dropping out mid-tour or not being that interested. And I could see that in a team like the Badus. So I can definitely see where you're coming from on that one. I think it is really hard to rank around this range because I think all like I think there are clear flaws to all of these, and it's kind of hard to say which one you want to really emphasize. I think the Twinkatuffs and the Magmortars are the only two teams that stand out to me as like not having clear flaws that you can pick away at. And then I think there's like a pool of 6 after that, and you can really shuffle around whatever way you want within that.
But yeah, I just don't think any pool looks like any team below like I think the first two look like super good. I think it gets like kind of hard to rank them.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think like as a very loose ranking, we were kind of looking at Twinkatuffs at 1, Mags at 2, Dedens and Leafeon in the 3 to 4 range, and then I think it's like the 5 to 8 range could be a toss up between any of the other 4 teams, to be honest.
That's fair, yeah. Yeah, it depends on what you're looking for, you know, because I
Yeah.
feel like with our team, you can talk about how about the support in the team like atmosphere, and but you can also just judge the like a lack of like starting power.
Mhm.
While you could just say the opposite about the other teams. So yeah, I think we are sort of my team is sort of the exception to most of this, because most of the teams have like the good players, but not exactly the best support.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it depends on how you look at it, really.
I think it'll be really interesting to see see how the Slagoonfies do. Um,
Mhm.
I'd personally like to see them do well because I have a lot of friends on that team, but it's an interesting build when you're going for a lot of kind of support focused and really emphasizing having like a great team environment, people who are all friends, people that will bounce well off of each other. Um,
Yeah,
which is
Yeah, I
like
think that could like honestly help them
definitely,
against like most of these teams.
yeah,
Like you don't have that
okay.
sort of environment at all. So I think that's like something that they have, even like if they lack like a star player.
yeah, for sure. Um, so I think that kind of wraps up everything we wanted to cover here. Uh, thanks again to Gum, Ishtar, and then Pix and ZS earlier for joining in for this. Really happy with what we got done here, and best of luck to everyone in the tour. I'm sure it will be great fun.
Right.